share screen one, actually. Let's do that out of the way. Okay, let's get this out of the way. All right, so purpose of this. Got asked by a friend about low-cost training, right? Let's search labs. I've done it, so I understand. But this stuff gets expensive, right? By the time the live classes, even the ones that are presented online, but if you're part of this pod of like 10 people, instructor, right, given in real time, that typically is running around $2,000 or $2 to $3,000 typically. And then there's the exam fees. There may be things like you're paying for a test sim to practice the exam, maybe buy an extra book, something like that. So, we can get in the neighborhood of $3,500, $4,000 without too much work, right? So an exam that requires you to pass, say, 3 tests, that's a small new car, right? And we're getting into that kind of range. What are our options? So I kind of I gave him a suggestion, wanted to go over it. I will say there's been some changes. So what I used to do, one of the things that was really useful, but less so at this point, is go into Cisco's certification and training. So I'm looking at this particular exam, and they had a section on exam prep, and they'd often give you a list of other reading, right? Well, not this time. They just refer you to their course. But it's always worth looking through and see if they say, hey, there's this great white paper, there's a great article, there's a bunch of different things you could be looking at to prepare for the exam. I would say that's going to be on top of, if they have an official training book, I would do the book plus those other readings, and whatever else I could find. Okay. There's Cisco Learning Library. I've used it. That when you look at Learning Network, and you need to get that out of my way. Move. Store. And so, they've got books. Great. I like the ebooks better. Mostly because I can carry them, right? So, and I'll talk about that more in a couple minutes, but they're always with me, right? I remember back in the days, I always had, several pounds of books with me when I was doing my studies, because they're always like 700-800 pages, phone book, well, for the big city phone books, right? If you live in a small town, no. So that we can go through, we can look at it, and we're going to look at CCNP Enterprise, right? When we can see, let's go for Games Labs. Let's see if they have the practice questions, self-paced training. Let's take a look at that one, self-paced training video training. They're not cheap, right? They're cheaper than the $3,000. $750 is not bad. These are what I was taking. How they're imperfect. There are things like with the labs, if you get disconnected from the lab, you don't get reconnected back to your virtual environment. You get connected to a new blank. So if there's 20 steps and you finished 18, you have to do 1 through 18 all over again to be able to do 19 and 20. Yeah. The old one, you have to be careful. Make sure that, like, if you just, like, I want to watch a video, well, the text that's included may be more extensive than just what's on the video. So you watch the video, you may miss a lot of content. And of course, certification exams are very, very, content rich, right? They're looking to say, hey, what's the signal strength I want to have at the edge of my cell for good coverage for voice, right? And if you miss that, if it wasn't in the video part of the lecture, it was in the written text, you may not, get that. So, and Cisco, frankly, doesn't produce books for all the different exams, right? So just know that you may be limited. And frankly, when you do searches, you're going to see a lot of exams that nobody really produces an exam for it or any much material for it other than Cisco, the official stuff. So that can be challenging. Can you ace this stuff if you know this stuff inside out? Maybe. I haven't tried it. Read all the documentation religiously, like all the release notes and command guides and the rest of it. Maybe, and have a lot of experience with it. I don't know. It'd be an interesting experiment. Okay. Another thing I can suggest is if you have an Audible account, or if you don't, that they have books available. Now, they may not be a great choice, right? So I had one on PMP that it was a multi-volume thing in one book. And the first part was sample test. Right, so I'm listening to this thing, and I'm doing it. I'm driving. I'm grocery shopping. I'm doing other things. Right, so I might be at the grocery store and like, um, see, earned value. B, estimate of completion. C, cost performance index. Right, so sometimes if it was a question where they've got a pretty good distractor in there, so you're looking at onions and you're like, I think that one looks pretty good, and it's like, oh shoot, what was A again? I have to see it, right? Or I'm just pulling the thing back out and I have to reverse, and hard when you're driving, right? So may not. If you though need to listen here to learn. So I was a teacher at one point, and I went through graduate level education in education, and we have different strengths. Some people want to do it with their hands. Some people want to see it. If you can show them like visuals, they do great. Some people want to hear it, right? And you probably have one dominant and at least one secondary. So you may need to go do lab it, wire it, do it, and maybe hear it works for you. Some other person may need to see it, and like for them, maybe writing out notes may be a really great strengthener, right? You can experiment with a lot of different ways. How did I do recall better? How did I do better on an exam? I trained this way, I trained that way, right? Particularly if you're looking to save money, that way, you're not like, well, I bought this audiobook and I bought a paper book and ebook, and I bought the video training, and then I got labs and I bought some equipment off eBay, and like I did great on the exam, but that ended up kind of expensive, right? So think about it. This can be worthwhile. There's some challenges. There's a small sample you can listen to, and they are returnable. There are some time limits and all that stuff. If you stock a bunch of stuff that, they may not, and you don't like some of it later, you may not be able to get it back unless there's a quality issue. If it is quality, they will take it back. The way this works, you pay a monthly fee depending on whether you want 1 or 2 books a month. It's $14.95 for one. I think it's $21.95 for 2. Look it up, and it will vary based on your country. So these things are worth a credit, or there's a price, and the price will be discounted off retail. So it says regular price. If I logged into this, you'd see a discounted price. So it's probably less than this. So if it's under the $14.95 for the month, I would just pay for it, right? And then get a different book that's more than $14.95. So this one, it says regular price $24.47, which is Cisco Kid. That's not Cisco Computing, Cisco Routing. That one might be a great one to do for a credit, because it's probably going to cost you more than what you pay per month, right? They're worth a try, right? Particularly if you already have it, I would say give it a whirl. Now let's see. Let's go through. Need to make this move just slightly. Thank you. Okay. Cisco Press, right? I suggested earlier, I said ebooks. Why? Because you can carry them. If you buy Kindle editions, you don't have to have a Kindle. There's free software you can download for PC or Mac. I don't know about Linux, to be honest. And then there are apps for your phone, iPhone, Android, tablets, right? So I do use tablet. This is a iPad Pro, and it's the prior edition, not the current edition, but the one prior. It still had the home button. Yeah, I'll read my books. And you can sync across platforms. So if I'm reading on my PC and then I pick it up on the tablet, I can just sync and it'll bring me to the right page. It's sometimes off just a little bit. I like to stop on like chapter breaks, and I can actually show you a little bit of Kindle. I have up some PMP stuff, and I was reading this elsewhere. I'm getting right near the end. See, 93%. Actually, I'm farther. It's going to say, hey, look, you're on that one. Sync. I was reading on tablet. Reading the glossary part as I prepare for that. 99%. Oh, I'm so glad to be getting through that book. But have a bunch of stuff on a bunch of different certs through here. Now, with the Cisco books, Cisco Press, they do have what they call premium editions. Okay, so we're gonna look on this guy and see if he's got NRC and see if he has it. So this premium edition includes a lab test sim. The test sims I've run with them have been okay. They aren't as hard as the real exam, but there's formats really similar. They don't typically include the sims in them, right? So they don't do the simulations where I've got to enter commands, but they questions, they do lots of questions, right? So at least they gave me some confidence that I was in the right neighborhood, okay? That it used to be you had to buy the premium edition only through Cisco Press, and of course the challenge was that I get the ebook file that I can use in my Kindle app, but getting it on and off devices was a pain, right? It wasn't the easiest thing. That's improved. If you have questions, I can do a demo on that sometime. But you can buy now the premium edition through Amazon. Amazon will send you the key you use to get into the test sim. So here's, you know, Cisco Press offers a lot of stuff, so I do recommend it. And their books, they're not going to be perfect, okay? So I spent $56 there in tax and such. This is not going to cover everything on the exam. There's going to be stuff that if I just worked off this book, I guarantee you I'm going to go, where did this come from? That's why I like the supplemental reading pieces that they used to show, because then at least I'm looking at other white papers and they're like, oh, okay, they didn't really cover this in the exam, in the book. Okay. It's also one of the nice things about having a good test sim is that you get asked some questions, you know, like, where did this come from? I really didn't find it in the book material. Now, of course, the sim you get with the book isn't going to cover that random stuff. It's not. So, yeah, you don't want to do that. So far, not spending a lot of money. This may not work for everyone though, because things like books, even audiobooks, may not be your learning strength, right? Certainly stay diligent about your reading. Make sure you're reading like every day. The more opportunities you can do, and don't pretend like, oh, like if I can't finish a chapter in one sitting, that's a problem. It may be brain's full. You have other things to do. Your time's kind of tight anyway. So reading through a chapter may take too long. So if you can get through sections, right? So it's nice when they have section dividers, so there's a convenient place for you to stop. So you kind of finish a thought. You set that thought down, you come back to it, okay? We showed Audible, we showed Cisco Press. Let's talk briefly about, let's go over to Amazon here. So this is a good movie, by the way. The book's quite good. It's very interesting if you haven't seen it. Okay, we're going to go CCNA. Now, the biggest caveat is that there are some exams that are well covered. So CCNA, the basic CCNA, everybody's got courses for it. So it's not going to be hard to find material for CCNA. When you get to things like collaboration, you get to, you know, some of the advanced wireless topics, all of a sudden everything just disappears. Okay. One of the options you have in here is look for this. You can sign up for Kindle Unlimited. I think it's about $11 a month. And what they do is allow you to check out books. and you pay nothing. The author does get a piece of it, so you're not like stealing the book. I'm going to say I've worked in the book industry. It was my first job. I've been a content creator. My wife, creates intellectual content. So I've worked for software companies among others. And so, they're like, I can get you this hacked copy of this. I'm like, yeah, not cool. The people who write these books need to make a living right now. We can say, yeah, the publisher's probably getting way too much, or the platform's getting way too much money. May be true, but when the book gets stolen, the creator gets nothing. Be careful with books. Look at the pub date, which is why I'd sorted by publication date. Okay, this may be the old version of the exam. The CCNA has been around for over 20 years at this point. I took it in 1999. 99. So, a book from 1999 is not going to be useful in the current exam. Just not. So, look at the dates. Don't just look at the this is 5-star. Take a look at some of the reviews, see if it's worth it. Surface Kindle Unlimited, you can try it, and if you go, this book is junk, return it, grab out another one. You get I think 10 up. You can have 10 books out at a time, so you can grab a bunch of these things and be pawing through them, seeing what you think is good. Right? If books work for you, certainly look at this. And just, you may have to look up like the exam numbers, like is 200-301, is that the current exam or is that the old exam, right? And a lot of things get left out here, so I wouldn't be surprised to find books that are significantly old, probably the old version. Just like skip it, okay? And then there are other material, right? There's plenty of other material, okay? One of them I want to highlight, let's get in this one. So MeasureUp. So MeasureUp is the one doing the official like Cisco exams. Okay, so the thing I got to say though is of late, their selection has gone a lot. The good part was it included like exam sims. They were a little more difficult in that they were much fussier about typing out the entire command. I was so happy when I let my certs lapse, and when I took them again, I was so happy to have command complete. I remember having to do token ring commands from off the top of my head, and I never did token ring, right? But it was on the exam. I had to do token ring. So, ring, bridge, ring, bridge. Oh my God. So happy about that. But on the other hand, having to type out the command is, you really get it right. You know what you're doing when you can do that. So that was fine. But again, they've sort of not fleshed out the sample exams. So you may have to go to third parties. Third parties vary dramatically in quality. So you may take one. I used to love Transcender. So when I was doing a bunch of Microsoft certs a very long time ago, they were awesome because their exam was harder than the real one. When you got good at the Transcenders, you did excellent at the real exam. And they had the same look and feel. They were really, really right on. When I took their successor version of CCNA, it was easier than the real exam. So that wasn't so helpful. I was doing really well on that, but on some other ones I wasn't doing so well. So that told me that the thing was off a little. But your results may vary. That was for a prior version of the CCNA exam. Go into forums, get reviews, take a look at it, choose wisely. These at least, they are blessed by the vendor, so they're in the neighborhood of what you want, right? But and they don't always have what you want. Like I just did AWS Cloud Practitioner because it could, and I don't think, if I remember, they didn't offer me an option for that. So they offered other ones, but not that one. Okay. So let's look at a couple of resources here. One of the things that I suggest people do is, and I should have it open, it's the one. Now, I'll show that one in a minute. Where's my Audible? This one, I think. Yep, this one, O'Reilly. Safari Books Online. When I started out doing a lot of Unix stuff, the thing is that you bought O'Reilly books. They were the best. They were very comprehensive, well written. You know, I needed to know how to do advanced configuration on SendMail. That's where I'm going. Just period. End of sentence. They now have Safari Books Online. You pay a subscription fee. You get access to everything. There are limits of how many books you can have out at once, that sort of thing. But very, very good selection of stuff. A lot of the Cisco Press stuff. Advantages to this and Kindle Unlimited are I don't have to shelve all this stuff. I pay this fee. I get access to all kinds of books. Maybe I use them once, done. I don't have to necessarily drag these around. When I was having to buy all these things, you know, that just moving every time, moving offices, moving, you know, houses, just like you pack up how many, you know, metric tons of books. You may like them. Maybe it's a thing, you know, and you know, in case of sudden, you know, nuclear attack, having, you know, miles of books, they'll absorb more of their radioactive materials than, you know, if you didn't have them. I'm kidding. Okay. Yeah. So think about these guys. Great stuff. The mobile apps have the ability to cache the book, so you can download it, and that way, you know, if I live on an island, we have a ferry, the coverage isn't so great when you're in the middle of passage. The thing is that, you know, having this as a downloader means I can read my book. I can study while I'm just sitting there on the car deck, waiting to land on the mainland. So think about it. And things like air travel, right? So I'm traveling for work, have that thing downloaded, I'll read it. Again, don't expect to read through the entire thing. Totally think you should be have your O'Reilly subscription, and constantly work on these things. Don't let them go. Now, none of this stuff is super cheap, right? The Audible isn't bad. I mean, you're paying $14.95 a month, so it's a bit under $200 by the end of the year. That even if you get the 2 books a month thing, it's still, you know, it's more like about $300 a month or $300 a year, excuse me, for your Audible subscription. And you know, you can do other things. There's a ton of titles. Whatever kind of stuff you like, they probably have it. Okay. Kindle Unlimited, $10, so, you know, 120, 130 bucks a year. I think it's actually $9.95, and I got to pay tax on it. So, you know, I'm paying a little more if you don't have to pay sales tax, then, you know, 120 a year, right? And you get access to material. Some of the things like, you know, these Cisco's is saying, hey, go look at this white paper. That's free. Okay. Learning Network. Big thing about all things like Learning Network is get on their mailing list, get sales, right? Cisco Press, you can get sales for their stuff. Get on their mailing list, sign up, register for these things, and sign up for them. Right? When they get their sale notifications, and, you know, around Black Friday, they're going to have a sale. I guarantee it. So, you know, hoard your coins, pounce on the stuff when it's on sale. It's the Learning Network. I also got a great deal when Certpocalypse was about to happen, because they wanted to, you know, get people to take these certs. I think what they saw probably is people went, oh, I'm not really ready, and, you know, I'll wait for the exam. Some people were scrambling, but this was like, wait a minute, I've always wanted to do this thing, and the price went down. So worth doing. And they did something really nice, that I got to take the follow-on courses, because I paid for those, even at discounted prices. They gave me the new courses because I had only like 3 months of time rather than normal. Like usually it's half a year of the course. That was awesome. I did those courses because I already paid for them. So, you know, good to know. Let's get on to Udemy. You know, these aren't official necessarily, although some of them are. Some of these people are. Some of these things you're going to find here, like if we do Thor, Thor Peterson. Thor's fun. So there's Thor, right? If you do his PMP, yeah, there it is. This one here, there it is. It's on sale, $10. It's a good course. I'll let you know if I can let you know if it actually was good enough. I am doing outside reading and to try and do this thing, but PMP, good stuff. $10. All right. Look for sales. Get on there. Get on the Udemy. Sign up for Udemy. When there's a sale, grab it. Right. Particularly if high-rated courses. Right. You want to do it, high-rated course. Get on it and do it. Right. I'll also show you one for AWS, and he'll love me. He's an interesting guy. I did Cloud Practitioner, and I did this one again, $10, right? And then he had a set of practice questions to go with it. Again, I got it on sale for I think for $10. So $20 invested here. I think I did. I bought one other set of practice questions, and then I registered for the exam. So, and I did the free course on Amazon. So, the whole cert cost me like about $150 maybe, plus my time, right, and my wife's indulgence. So, this is totally worth it, and he's great. I got to say this, like for this course, I can't speak about his other ones, but this one he's just really good. These introductory courses here, and for things like Azure, they're trying to get you to understand the breadth of the product, okay? And they often have multiple options for things like databases. So what is Athena? What is Aurora? What is Redshift? And how do you remember, keep them straight, which one's which? Because you're going to ask scenario questions. Hey, customer wants to do X. What's your solution for that? So he was great about picking up, this one is serverless, DynamoDB. That's the serverless one. So he was really good about pointing that out. So, props to Stefan. Now, his English is his second language. Okay. If you have really bad hearing problems, maybe Stefan isn't your guy, and maybe if your English is your second language, but French isn't your first, so you're not used to that accent. That maybe it's a challenge I have. I've worked with lots of immigrants, and sometimes it can get interesting because we're all speaking English, but we don't understand each other. But good material. He was excellent instructor. I was really glad I did that course with him. So, this is a great source of stuff. Now, mileage varies, right? So read the reviews, see what it is. Taking something that's well reviewed, and also again look at dates, because we don't necessarily tear down all our old content, right? So, if you're doing ITIL, there's ITIL v3 that are still out there. Do you want to take ITIL with v3? No, probably not. So, there's your warning. And the practice tests, there's an engine built into Udemy that they're using, at least as far as I can tell, is an engine. So they're, if I don't know if they can do like the Cisco, what's the word I want? All the sims, right? So like the actual having to log in and like make a code change or something. But you can do questions, and $10. It's like, spend $10. Now, right, if you don't have $10, I get it, and that's a bigger problem, and that's going to make it really hard, and make paying $300 for an exam fee something that is a real nail biter. So you got to make some hard choices, and my heart's with you on that one. It really is. I'll show you another site. I'm sort of ambivalent about them to a degree, but and I'll tell you why in a second. Price isn't bad, right? So I have my year. That their content. So it's good. Pluralsight. I learned about them in an interview. They were like, "Oh, this is how we do our training." Some topics that got well covered. Some things not so well. Right. Typical for a lot of things, like I'm not going to see a lot of stuff beyond like end course. Sure, I expect that. Do I expect to see a lot of other things? No. So, you know, a lot of times, like when we saw a lot of the CCNA level, like wireless and you know, all that stuff's now CCNA, that they did have some of that, but you know, beyond that, no. You wanted to take like the wireless design doesn't exist. Um, they had a great course. They had the best course for the architecture course, which was for your CCDP. It was your, you know, you passed your CCDA, CCNA, CCNP, and then you just need architecture and you do it. These are the guys that had the great course. It was done by the author of the book. Well done. So very professional stuff, really nice quality. Okay. But you know, look into this carefully. Look at what you want to do. Don't just look at the cert you want to do, but also look at the ones following, right? I'm one to believe you don't take one cert. You don't. Um, you're not a one-trick pony, right? Employers looking for more skills than I know CCNA security. You know, I'm going to pursue a CCNP. Oh, I'm going to do Security Plus. You know, whatever. I'm going to do Certified Ethical Hacker. I'm going to do. You know, what are you going to do? If they can cover more than one, that makes this year-long subscription more worthwhile. Okay. One special I'm going to highlight is for ITIL. This is Dion Training, and he does other stuff, a lot of stuff. He does a lot of the CompTIA AI stuff as well, and then he's also teaching with Thor on the PMP that I showed you. Again, you know, sign up, get his sales, right? And not that I want to take money out of Jason's pocket, but you know, if you're looking for a bargain when he offers a sale, take it. He's offering it. He wants you to sign up, right? The thing is that he's going to do better if you as a repeat customer buying all his courses rather than just, you know, making the one sale. And if you buy all his courses on sale, I think he's still doing okay. I'm pretty sure Jason's not going to price this thing in a way he's, you know, losing his shirt on it. He has a minimum. The reason I like this is it includes this exam voucher. So PeopleCert is the official exam. They can do it online. So during COVID, you're covered. That's included in this price. So normally you look at a price of class, I gotta do that. Okay, maybe I'm gonna buy a book, maybe I'm gonna do this. He's pretty comprehensive. He gives you some paper study materials, so, or not paper, but you know, PDF study materials, which are good. And then, you know, his video course, practice, he's got some practice exams built in, a couple of them that are the same length as the real exams. They are equivalent to the exams. They're about the same level of difficulty. Um, that, and you can get it for one price. I've done it. I did buy the Axlos book or the PDF for another 100 and whatever it was. It wasn't cheap, and did that as well on all of these so far. But I also got scores probably better than I needed. So I wasn't sort of just getting my chin over the bar, which is really all you need, right? I was sort of, you know, lapping the thing, but I'm a little crazy and apparently I have some money to burn. So Jason's stuff has been really good. Now he's done some early releases, so you may get a course if it's brand new that he may have released it and he hasn't fully cleaned it up. So I was kind of laughing at him on one of these that, you know, he hadn't had his video guy come back and edit out mistakes. So, and you notice I don't do that. This is a live thing. I'm just doing it. But he might say, you know, blah, 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 and then like, whoops, and then, you know, kind of back up. You can stop, give him a little break, back up, pick up whatever the last sentence was so that you can edit that out later. It didn't happen, right? And then he was in front of a green screen, which, you know, later on he's going to put his logo and the rest of it so it looked more like that picture you see right in front of you. But you know what? I got the exam. I did it. Did I really, you know, it did take a little more time because he was making mistakes and, you know, sometimes the tongue twisters he got himself into were funny and, you know, it was great. Very human. So I'm a fan, you know. So take a look at them if ITIL is one of the directions you want to go. I haven't really made money off ITIL, so you know, is it worth it? I don't know. If your employer wants it though, and they're not paying you to take the classes, or if they're like, well, you know, I can afford like $2,000. You're like, cool. You give me the $2,000, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to buy a string of Jason's courses. And I'm going to get not just like foundations, but I'll do foundations and, you know, there's 6 total courses. So you start with foundations and then there's 4 for your managing professional and there's 2, although one of them is an overlap for your leader, whatever it is, strategic leader, I forgot what they call it. So, for like $2,000 that they were going to spend, it's like, oh, hey, I can buy, especially on sale, if I, on sale, that I can get like most of the way there towards like managing professional, and pony up the last bit myself. If I'll do it. And you can talk to him if you're going to buy a bunch that guys like Jason's small company that he can probably make you a deal. He does have a floor though, because it includes that people cert voucher, and then you got to if you can get people cert to cut his price to Jason, whatever, or if you'll do it outside, whatever, that's your deal. Okay. So I've showed you Udemy, I've showed you Audible, I've showed you Cisco Press, I've showed you Cisco Learning Network. So there's a bunch of options. I showed you a little bit of Pluralsight, very professional. Another one I've done a little more pricey was Stormwind Studios. I got a bunch of certs out of Stormwinds. Okay. Now, what I ended up doing is that I did CCNA mostly on my own to renew it, and then I needed route, switch, T-shoot, did all those, right? They included Bose on Netsim, and they included the Cisco book, which was helpful as study material. And then in addition, I did ITIL foundations through them. I did CCNA wireless, CCNA security, CCNA data center, and if I had a little more time, I would have done collaboration. Right, so that's pretty amazing. But I had the time. I carved the time. I made the time. I made it work. Right. I had the experience, so it wasn't like I really had to go through and like do T-shoot. Like I had to go through material like multiple times to really get it. I was most of the way there and needed to fill some gaps. So I would go through the lectures and I'm like, it's kind of like know it, and like, oh, hey, new stuff. Okay, focus on that. Right. So that the price for this year, you can buy one course for like, I think it's $2,000. So, no, this isn't a great value. $3,000, if you can do a bunch of the stuff, it can be worth it. So, would I think about it for, now they don't have the stuff I wanted right now, right? In that bunch for enterprise. What I consider though, let's see what they have in wireless, see that's old. You know, let's get him out of, let's get ChattyBot out of the way. Data center, don't know. DC Core, there's not enough in here for me to do it this time. Before though, if I needed to get all this stuff done, that could be worth it for $3,000. If I'm trying to get through like these 4 in a shot, that that gets the price per class down way down. But you got to have discipline, right? You got to, otherwise, if you just do the one and you let the year expire, you paid a lot for one course. Okay, so know yourself, know what you can do, know, right? And it's uncertain economic times, so maybe $3,000 is just like, you're like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm just not putting that down, right? Let's look at INE. Yearly subscription, and they also they have some labs you can do via virtual labs. Pay for tokens for your server time. That these guys are well respected on the CCIE side, right? So let's see if I can go pull. Where is it? Expert instructors on demand. Should do. I'm going to pause my sharing for a second. Not a robot. Have mountains or hills. Okay, so here we go. Go into, come on, where is that? Essentials versus the learning path. Clouds, network, let's go to networking. Should we only go from here? CCNP Enterprise, networking courses, categories, instructors, difficulty. I should have an option to go through learning path. I'm having a little trouble with the browser here. But here we go, learning path. Let's go do this. So CCNP Enterprise, a lot of material. I got 280 hours of videos, right? Pick and choose what you can do out of that. But CCNA Enterprise, 64 hours of stuff. It's mostly Brian here. Brian's good. He walks through all the stuff. Now, I'll say I've had this thing and I haven't passed the CIE yet. Well, why? It's hard. It's a hard exam. I took the written a couple of times before CERT Apocalypse. I didn't pass it. I was close. I kept getting really close, but not over the wire. And then I stopped because with CERT Apocalypse happening, I'm like, I'm going to want to do more prep to be able to do the new lab. And then it got pushed out. I should have stuck with it, but whatever. But there are topics in here that, are going to be harder for you. Maybe multicast, something you got to focus on, or MPLS, DMVPN. The coverage has been really good. And I recommend this stuff. I can't say it's something we pass, but hey, it's a hard exam. I'm not the only one who's struggled with it. Okay, I'm going to show you Boson Netsim a little bit, or Boson. The Netsim I found really useful when I did the CCNP, my CCP route and switch. They offer a new version of it. I can't tell you on the CCNP Enterprise how good it is or not, but the pricing wasn't so bad. Take a look at it. That's what he's offering. Okay, Encore NRC 179. It was worth it. And, for me, right, so I got in there and they had a scenario, right, and the labs are built. So you go in, you pull the thing up, okay, there was weird problems at times. So they have like a frame relay link working, and the frame relay, for whatever reason, just isn't working, right? And, I had to, they're like, oh, yeah, restart your machine. Okay, they had some like memory leak or something that was causing it to fail, and they're like, yeah, you got to restart the machine. Got all their tech support. They gave me an answer pretty quick. Not perfect, but what is, right? I have done the, so we look at this one. Boom. I have done the exam sim. Now for CCIE, yeah, I was getting pretty good scores on the Boson. I didn't do as well on the real thing. Yeah. I'm not sure, other than finding test dumps, and like test dumps get the reason you would consider it, but it's highly risky. If you're ever caught with test dumps, they can invalidate all your certs. Oh, you cheated on that. It's considered cheating. Okay. Now, if you're taking things like your FAA exam, your FCC exam for your ham radio, well, they actually do give you the questions. And so, yeah, you can study the real questions. That's perfectly legal. But for other things that they don't. So when they're dump sites, and, people will come on to like your LinkedIn profile, and they'll be like, hey, you're studying, I have these exams, I have dumps. And you're like, yeah, let's not do that. Now, sometimes you're looking for practice exams for a certain exam. You may, you buy something legit and you find out it's a dump. That happens. They're not always clear about it, and some of the exams, there's just not really anything out there. So you're buying somebody's dump. As long as you're, my thing is I didn't know at a time that it was, and then what do you do with it? So, I haven't done any other products. So I've done the practice exams. The engine was pretty decent, and I've done the Netsim, and I liked it. You can also do Viral, right? I'm not going to show you Viral. I do have Viral. You need some sort of hypervisor, right? So best really if you can stick it on a dedicated machine. I'm running on this laptop. I ran it on an older laptop that it was SATA, and that wasn't good enough. It was painful. And virtualization, some things don't work at all. Some things don't work well. And some things, it seems like I'm already for hardware. I was doing a lot of multicast. If you see my other videos, you know why. And you do show something and, show something about multicast. And it's just like enter. Dum, 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 dum. It reminds me of the days in a program design course on a PDP 1170, where I had a 15-line program, and, it's like I would do some calculus homework while I was waiting for it to compile, right? Yeah, So virtualization is not the most awesome thing all the time. But this gives you an example of a lot of different things to look at, different things to think about spending your money on. None of these providers has endorsed this in any way or incentivized any of my content. It's based on my own studies. Certainly, always mileage may vary. And I'll talk about, let's do one other stop just for fun before we do this, before we leave eBay. So you want a physical lab. First thing I'm going to say to you is get earplugs. Unless you're buying, like if you buy the little desktop models like an ASA 5506, those things don't put out a lot of noise because they don't have fans. The fanless ones are okay. The ones with fans though, those fans, that's environmental noise that's hard, that's can be damage to your hearing. So be careful with those. I would wear earplugs around them. Now, the funny thing is I was looking at, this is a 2514 dual. This thing is old. This is older than some of the people watching this video, okay? And a bunch to ship this thing, right? It is probably not worth $70. If you look at it, it can handle about about a T1 worth of routing capability, right? So you need to come up with the AUI adapters, right? So there's these little transceivers that convert that to 10 base T, 10 base, 10 megabit, okay? And then there's the serial, and you can buy, there's some, people have wired custom Cisco cables so you can interconnect them, right? But when I do this, you know, some other things that probably came up in my search, maybe, let's look for like a Cisco 2911. All right, 64 bucks. That's a much better router, much more capable. The ports, I think the front ports on that are gigabit. So, and they don't need an adapter, and the AUI adapters used to fall off. So you hit it accidentally and you knock the stupid thing off. Yeah, production network, fun. You know, it's all kinds of crazy ways people try to make sure those things didn't fall off. Probably a better deal, right? But heat, power, noise are three things to think about, and space, right? That the noise adds up, the heat adds up, the space, and then if you got to move, you got to carry all the stuff around, right? So that's why I like the virtuals. There's advantages to this. I mean, actually having physical experience to be able to touch it, put a module in, learn different things. How do I update firmware? There's a lot of things you can learn from that. And certainly in some companies, we bought some used equipment like this because we wanted to do some testing and we didn't want to pay for new Cisco gear. But the stuff you're going to get for a reasonable price typically is going to be out of support. So, no updates to it. Right, you're going to kind of scrounge around. If I need a license for it, I can turn on the eval licensing for a lot of this stuff and make it work that way. But if I needed something where I actually needed a license pack, I can't get it. I just can't. Well, unless I find an open one on here, and then I got to see if Cisco will redeem it, which they may not. I don't know. I've never tried it. Read the reviews on your seller carefully. So if I was looking at this, I'm going to look at A+ Electronics, 100% positive feedback. He's got a huge number of, and the positive feedback is not necessarily here because he's got some other things too. Accurate description, shipping speed, the rest of it, he's got good marks for those. So that's good. And I sometimes look I'll look through these and, does he say deal of century, thanks, great. No complaints, works great, smooth sale, superb condition, excellent packaging, worked right out of the box. This is good. This looks like a good guy worth doing business with, right? But check. I had one, I was buying some monitor arms and I didn't check carefully because it was such a great deal. And the guy, the reviews on him are brutal. And they were honest. I got the monitor arm, but I had to go buy some more parts from other people. I think because he packed it so poorly, maybe there were some of the parts there. They just fell out during shipping. Yeah, that. I had to scrounge them. It still was cheaper than, but it also was a lot of frustration, a lot more time. I didn't just get them and able to get going. I had to go, great, and then I'm trying to get a hold of him and he's not responding. And then I have to go source the other parts and the rest of it. It's just like, yeah, that was not fun. So I'm never going to tell you no on any of this stuff. I'm less fond of labs now than I used to be, of physical labs, right? Rack rentals, you know. And when I stop using it, I don't have to worry about disposal. So this is a bunch of stuff to think about. Now, I may not find books on here, or paper books. If it's got like a CD content, may not be able to do that. The additional content through Cisco, you can get, because what you need typically is if there's a code in there, if they redeem the code, you're done. If it's like on the ebook, well, they want to know the ISBN number, and they want you to validate by, go to this page and on this table, what's the third entry, right? To verify you have the real book. You just didn't get the number, right? And I assume they randomized that. I don't know if someone could just go, oh yeah, the answer is 242. I have no idea. I'm not the kind of guy who would try and figure that out, right? So you can maybe find some physical books through here if that's your dealio. People may be trying to dump them. And anything you buy on eBay, pricing is what the market will bear. So if something's popular, it's going to go. Sometimes though, you have a seller. The only one you're finding, you're looking for a thing like, let's see if I can do Cisco DNA. Let's see if they have it. Anything in there. That it's a 9300 with a DNA license, but like the whole, sometimes they'll have something in there and the price is like, that's full retail. I'm not going to buy it from you, right? Sometimes, like with that 2500 series routers they're used from the 1990s, they're like $50. Well, I paid, whatever for it. You paid too much, or that was 20 years ago, dude. It's not worth, that. It's not even worth that anymore. It's not. So, be sensible in what you're spending, right? And as you see here, $5,500. Yeah, that's good money. So things to think about. Be sensible and have a good time. So thanks for listening. Hope this helps.